It's your favorite diabolical exotical, the Madam, the Exotical Tax Collector. In this video, we're going to talk about the downfall of the hard wig soft life era. A lot of unambiguous black women have found themselves in the similar position as this woman that is on the screen. Let me read the caption. When you are dating a white man that doesn't spoil you or pay your bills. So I am not surprised that unambiguous black women are finding the bottom brads, the bottom shelf brads, and you guys have to understand, once you guys put on those hard wigs and you thought that you were truly going to get a soft life, you guys really fooled yourselves into thinking that, because these white men that are bottom shelf brads, they literally dogged you women out. They literally exploited you women financially, sexually, and, emotionally. They literally exploited you guys because you guys were that easy. And that's one thing I want to say, is that unambiguous black women are easy. They're easy to fool. They're easy to trick into these really low vibrational, energetic relationships and dynamics where they're getting siphoned for their sex. They're getting siphoned for their money. And they're wondering why they're not being spoiled. They're wondering why they're not getting their bills paid. Well, guess what, sweetheart? You're not an exotical, and that's the way of the exoticals. Exoticals can just breathe and get their bills paid and get their hair paid for and get all these spa treatments and all these luxury trips to these foreign countries and domestically and international travel for free. And a lot of you unambiguous black women are angry because you guys have to work these 9-to-5 jobs still, along with this white man that is you're calling your boyfriend. Like, why are you mad? You literally said that I am a Barbara the Builder. I can fix it. Look at my wig. Don't you see that it's rough? Don't you see that I need a new one? You're literally calling in men to pity you, to give you pity privilege, to give you pity dick, to give you pity benefits, And let me say, you can either have pretty privilege or pity privilege. Nobody wants charity privilege, sweetheart. Nobody wants to feel so bad for you that they're feeling pressure to show up for you in a certain way. And that's why a lot of unambiguous black women have unreliable, community when they divest and they fail to divest. And the women that successfully divest understand that, hey, I've got to be working with a little something, something here for a man to take interest and for a man to be inspired to provide for me, to level me up. What are you inspiring a man to do? You're inspiring a man to feel pity for you and to feel remorseful if they don't do something about it, and feeling like it's an attack against their character. And that's what a lot of unambiguous black women do when they are in the failure era of their divestments. And I've seen lots of women try to divest with white men, and then they find themselves in emotional turmoil, and they're dysregulated emotionally to the point where they're just in a reactive state. And being in a reactive state doesn't get you anywhere. And as you see, this woman right here is showing that even with my makeup on, even with this so-called wig on, I'm still super masculine. And I'm mad that I can't be given feminine privilege even when I put this stupid wig on. And that's what she's literally giving out to society. That's what she's telling all these people around her. She is truly an embarrassment to herself and to women that look like her. And that's one thing I want to say, is that these unambiguous black women keep embarrassing themselves. And it's it's just disgusting and distasteful, and it lacks decorum, because it's there's a time and a place for everything. And also, that woman that was going out into that very beautiful area, Like, it looked like she was in a Ritz-Carlton hotel lobby, you know what I mean? Or foyer. And it's like, girl, you're taking off your wig, shaking it off, and trying to put it back on. That is so ghetto. Like, that is so disgusting. That is distasteful. That is not classy. Because let me tell you something. Classy women inspire men to give them their all without having to pop any coochie or to throw it back in a circle. You get what I'm saying? We don't have to embarrass ourselves. I don't have to turn into a town jester. I don't have to metamorphosize into this clown in order to be given the proper attention. And I feel like these unambiguous Black women are literally selling themselves out very cheaply. Very cheaply. They're not even selling themselves out 1% of their worth as a woman. Like, being a woman innately, that gives you a worth that not a man could have. You can procreate. You can bring another human being into this life. You are so creative that you can literally turn a house into a home. We are so creative as women that we have endless creativity once we accept ourselves for who we are. And once we embrace our unique skill sets, abilities, and talents, and creative potential. And a lot of unambiguous Black women don't allow themselves to be creative beyond their physical appearance. And guess what? Your physical appearance can only get you so far. Where is your mind at? You know? Why aren't you exploring the depths of your mind and exploring how intelligent and how bright and brilliant you are as an individual, instead of sitting over here eating some hot fries, popping some Xanax, drinking some lean, and snorting some cocaine and twerking your ass in a circle and going to the strip clubs and going to these corner stores trying to get a man to level up your life. Like, let me tell you something. A man is not going to level you up unless he's inspired by you. And as someone who can talk about this from experience, I have not paid my fucking rent in the past 8 years, bitches, okay? And I want all of you guys to realize that very quickly. Recognize the greatness within me. I inspire men. I've inspired so many men that they just give me money. Like 2 weeks ago, I was in Erewhon and I was getting my milk, my eggs, my honey, some flour, some fresh fruits, some fresh meats, you know, some pasta and some rice, and, you know, just, you know, my regular, you know, little shopping trip. And this man literally busted out $800 out of his pocket to pay for my food. And also for me to keep the rest. And I was like, oh, wow, thank you. And then I went over to the hot bar and I got myself some lunch. And that was such a beautiful day, that the fact that I can just enter a room and everyone bows down to me. Or I can just enter a room and I've got at least five men ready to pay for my groceries, ready to pay for the food at the hot bar. Literally. Like, I am so pampered to the point where I have no social anxiety. Like, I can literally leave my house and know that once I grace the place, once my feet touch the ground of the place, I have turned that place into a sanctuary. And not only any sanctuary, my own sanctuary. And that's what a lot of unambiguous Black women want. They want the worship, but at the demise of others. And people energetically pick that up at the gate. We energetically pick that up at the door. And that's why they just melt into the background. Because guess what? There's nothing about you that inspires me. And that is where people give you the privilege. Where have you inspired them? Where have you mesmerized them? And guess what? You can do it with the externals, but guess what? Once you start talking and they hear the rhetoric that's coming out of your fucking mouth and they hear that it is shitty and that it's in the gutter, they're not going to take you seriously. They're going to be like, oh, she's just showing up as the part, but she can't really walk that walk and talk the talk. You know, she's just showing up, but she's not walking the walk and talking the talk. And that's why, for my fellow exoticals, It's time for you to figure out who you are. What is your particular walk? How do you talk your talk? How do you walk your walk? And what places are you walking into where they just give you the 100% goddess treatment? You know, princess treatment is okay, but guess what? I'm older now and I'm a fucking goddess. And it's time for me to be treated like one. And all of my fellow exoticals that are listening to this video, guess what? You are a goddess, and it's time to walk that walk and talk that talk of the goddess way. And the goddess way is subjective to everybody. So guess what? It's time for you to truly enter this passion project stage where, guess what? Majority of your day, you're just enjoying yourself, enjoying those passion projects. And guess what? Maybe you're making an income, a passive income off of this hobby. Like, that's why I am so for all of the exoticals making their YouTube channels and showing off their skill sets. And guess what? You can have 2 YouTube channels that are monetized. Guess what? All you got to do is just hit record. And you have a faceless. One of your YouTube channels can be faceless, and the other one can be another faceless one of you just cooking. Or maybe you crocheting or knitting or dancing or singing or whatever you want to do. Guess what? The world is your oyster. And that's one thing unambiguous Black women can never do. They can never truly respect themselves and respect their talents and respect the fact that they need space to grow. And that's why I'm proud of all of my fellow bougie exoticals. And thank you to all of my new subscribers and my returning subscribers that are bougie exoticals like myself, who are willing to say no to meeting up with others, that are willing to create the necessary space for them to have, you know, the time to indulge in their creative outlets and allow that creativity to come out. And a lot of us need the proper space in order to do that. And guess what? You're going to be able to thrive in a relationship, and you're going to be able to get that 100% zero relationship where that man is seeing you as his inspiration, as his muse, and he is laying everything down on that table, laying out everything on the line for you. And that's what it's truly about. And this is the thing over here. I benefit from the male gaze. So one thing I want to say is that men are not a part of my world, but the men, they do build up my world, okay? They are assets. Men are not seen as a liability in my world. And I feel like a lot of dissenting men girlies, some of them are turning into man haters. And that's one thing I want to say is that I'm not a man hater. I don't hate fucking men. I appreciate men. I admire men, because guess what? The men that I have allowed into my sacred space and into my life have only been assets to me. And that's another thing I want to say to my fellow exoticals. Every person that graces your presence, that you allow into your life, whether that is a friend, whether that's a relationship, or whether that's a coworker or whoever, they are an asset. We have no times for limitations and liabilities in people, places, or circumstances. Guess what? It's time for us to shed our traumas, to metamorphosize into our highest versions of ourselves, aka the woman that has reached their internalized beauty standard, the woman that has allowed herself to accept her feminine pretty privilege and the capitalism privilege that comes with all the other isms. But I want to say to all the women that are listening to me and all the people that are listening to me is that you do not have to accept the bare minimum. And that's one thing that I feel like the unambiguous Black women who sat up here and allowed themselves to get the wool pulled over their eyes, thinking that just because they're wearing a hard wig or a synthetic wig or this wig that looks messed up, that these white men are just going to bow down to them. I'm just sorry. Like, these white men are not going to bow down to you. You were never the preference in the first place. That's why you have to wear the wig, sweetheart. That's why you have to wear all those body trainers. That's why you had to go get that BBL. That's why you had to bleach your skin. Because you knew deep in your hearts of hearts that white man was not going to accept you just as you are. And that's one thing that this woman truly knew. And she literally embarrassed herself. Like, what is the point of embarrassing yourself to get fucking nothing? And that's one thing that I feel like this unambiguous black woman that's on the screen staring at us upsettingly has endured. She has done herself the greatest disservice to believe that, oh, it's only going to take this one thing to get me to this one place. Do you know what that shows me? That shows me that you have an external locus of control, that you do not control your own narrative, and that you conformed to this narrative that wasn't even the true reality. And there's a lot of disillusionment going on with unambiguous black women. And that's one thing I want to say is that we as Exoticals, we are no longer befriending you unambiguous black women that are bleaching your skin, that are putting on your wigs, on these synthetic wigs, on these hard wigs, and trying to do the hard wig, soft life era movement, which is just backfiring in your face, like to the point where you're embarrassing yourselves. And I feel so strongly on what Exoticals United says. EU was right. These women that sit up here and do this shit, they do not love themselves. They do not respect themselves. And they do not give themselves the proper leeway or the proper slack, or just like they don't give themselves the proper environments. They don't put themselves in the proper environments. They don't cultivate the proper environments, and they don't allow themselves to have the proper discipline and structure to get to the places that they want to be. And that's what Exoticals United has said time and time again. These women literally are embarrassing themselves to get somewhere, and they're getting nowhere. And then they want to talk about how our skin complexions and how our pretty privilege has gotten us to where we want to be. But guess what? There has to been a point in time where every fucking Exotical in their mind said, oh, yeah, I'm going to go to that art class. I'm going to sit up here and be in the gym this times amount of, like 3 times a week in order to get my dream body. There were steps that we took to get to the places that we wanted to be. Whether that was from the privilege of having good parents or having the privilege of having a fucking will and self-determination to get to where we want to be. And that's one thing I want to say is that unambiguous black women that have wig blindness and that are part of that hard wig, soft life community, they are so jealous of women that don't have good parents, that did not have the proper structure from our parents, that have the self-will, that have the determination to get to where we want to be. Just because I believe in my fucking self and you don't fucking believe in yourself, and the only way that you're going to believe in yourself is if your face is caked up with makeup that's 10 times lighter your shade and putting on clothes that's 2 times smaller than your body type. Can we clock that? And having these fake little personas that you're trying to put on, like Sasha Fierce, and not realizing Beyonce created Sasha Fierce to feel sexy, to feel empowered. But that was off of her own self-determination. That was off of her own free will. And one thing I want to say is that not everybody in this life has free will. Not everyone has free will. Because guess what? When you allow other people to become the main characters, the directors, the narrators of your fucking life, such as unambiguous black women do, you will never succeed. You will always not have the free will to do what you want to do. I have free will because I'm the main character of my life, and I do not allow people who are liabilities to themselves to become a liability in my world. Guess what? You've got to see yourself as an asset to be my friend. And that's why I fuck hard with the bougie girls. Because guess what? We're not going to just allow anyone and everybody in our circle or in our lives just because they quote unquote make us look good. There has to be some type of substance. And that's one thing an Exotical is always going to do. An Exotical is always going to drift towards substance, real worth, while circumstances, people, places, and things. And I feel like the hard wig, soft life only showed Bobbiana the Builder and her ratchet sisters that want to level up, but will never be able to. Because guess what? These white men are going to dog you out. These white men that genuinely don't have didn't grow up with real mothers that love them, guess what? They're looking for that mammy. They're looking for that woman on that plantation that was in the kitchen 24/7, 365. And then on Saturday night, Massa was busting through her little shack in the woods and busting down her booty hole. Like, let's be honest. Like, I feel like a lot of unambiguous Black women, they don't respect themselves, they don't love themselves, and they ostracize themselves. And they create these disillusion narratives of, all these things of like, and allowing themselves to further attach themselves to these stereotypes and these rhetorics that other people of other nationalities have of them, because they feel like, hey, well, I might as well live up to the hype because I'm going to get some type of accolades. I'm going to get some type of crumbs from the feast table from these people who have it all. And guess what? When you keep seeing yourself at the bottom, you're never going to make it to the top. And to my fellow exoticals that have sisters like this or family members like this, guess what? It's time to detach. It's time to cut off those family members. It's time to not make yourself a part of their schemes and their games, because guess what? A woman who truly loves herself would never go up on the internet and say this shit. She would never allow herself to look like this in the public eye. Whether that's for a laugh or a giggle, like that's really self-deprecating. And I feel like these unambiguous Black women who feel like tearing themselves down is normal, guess what? You will never be able to have that relationship last long. You're not going to be able to sustain that relationship with that white man. Because white culture, they uphold themselves. They have high self-esteem. And guess what? If this man has to keep waking up next to you every single day of his life, and he's got to keep boosting you up, boosting up your ego, and pulling you together, guess what? He's going to get tired of that shit. And especially if you're bossing him around and emasculating him, like, do you think he's going to want to stick around? No, he's not going to want to stick around. He's going to use you for a good time, and then he's going to move on to who he truly wants to be with, which is an exotical. And guess what? All of these failed divestors, they keep making a mockery of themselves. And it's truly distasteful. It's truly sad when you look at it, because it's just like you're just putting yourself on a chopping block to be sold. Like, they're literally, these Black women are selling themselves without the white man's help. Like, literally. Like, and I truly mean it. Like, we cannot lie and say that these unambiguous Black women in these churches, once they go to these mega churches, that they're not pushing their unambiguous daughters on the Mexican community and the Asian community and the Arab community. Let's not talk about the Muslim women that are in the unambiguous Black community that go. Let's not talk about those women. The unambiguous Black Muslim women that have to share their MLS or their dark-skinned exotical men, Arab men, with other exotical women. Let's not talk about that. Or how these Muslim men have these unambiguous Black women in a harem. And they're dogging each one of these women out. Having all these women living together. Oh, but if we go into that, we're stepping on toes, and that's people's religion, and polygamy and polyamory. Oh, they're not the same. They're empowering for women. No, it's not. When a woman has to share her body and share her man with another woman, guess what? You're selling yourself out and you look stupid. Because guess what? You've gained nothing. You've given yourself out like a Rent-A-Center television. And you've gotten nothing truly of it. Like, truly. And it's just like, how can you expect these white men to respect you when you have nothing to account for as respectable? Whether that's your personality, whether that's your mannerisms, or whatever it may be, right? It's time for exotical women to truly leave these unambiguous Black women who are your so-called friends, your so-called family members. It's time to leave them in the dust, because guess what? The behaviors of others do rub off on us eventually over long spans of time. And it's time for us to take our power back as exoticals and really realize that, hey, all I have to do is breathe and I'm going to get everything, pretty much done for me. I've experienced it. I have personally experienced just having to be myself, just having to exist, just having to express my creativity and to be, just loved and adored and admired. And even when people pamper me, I'm inspired by them pampering me, by them giving me my pretty privilege and feminine privilege. And I do benefit from majority of the isms out here. So one thing I want to say is that if you are benefiting from the majority of the isms, take this as a sign to run with it, to truly see how far you can get with the benefits that you can acquire, the accolades that you can attain through just being who you are. And one thing I want to say is that we need to see more exoticals with businesses. We need to see more exoticals in the fashion industry, in the makeup industry, in the modeling industry. Let's see more of us. Hey, even as Olympians, let's talk about more of, the corrective, unambiguous Black women like Chrissy are trying to make this new corrective. But guess what? Your new corrective does not fit the shoe, baby, okay? And that's one thing I want to make very clear. Unambiguous Black women, you will always be the ugly stepsisters that try to mutilate their foot into that glass slipper. And exoticals will always be Cinderella, where we'll put our foot in that glass slipper and it will be perfection, baby, okay? Perfection. And it feels so good when we tiptoe in our glass slippers, because guess what? You can never do that. You guys have been forewarned by E. Kane when she said that you guys can never reach the heights that we do. And it is the truth. And you should know your place and you should stay in your place. And there's nothing else to further discuss. Stay in your fucking place. Because guess what? When you're doing things as this woman did up on the internet, all you're doing is embarrassing yourself. So you might as well just support yourself, go get a job, go get that 9-to-5 job, baby, and go get that little bottom shelf Brad 50-50 just so you can look good in front of your friends and stuff. Just so that bottom shelf Brad that you have kids with will worship your children, put them on a pedestal, treat them better than he has ever treated you. And let's see how you end up in a foster home or a nursing home for old people. A nursing home for old people where your MLS or your exotical daughter has left you there and she's living her best life, having even more exotical kids because she truly sees your true motives for her birth and her true motives for your life. Because guess what? I am done with you unambiguous Black women thinking that you can put on a little fucking hard-ass wig and think that you're going to get your bills paid and you're going to get your rent paid and you're going to get leveled up. Well, guess what? That's not the reality, baby. You've been duped. You've been catfished. So guess what? You've got to, lay in your bed. You made your bed hard, so you're going to lay in it. Lay up in that hard bed with that stiff-ass wig, baby. But thank you to all of my returning subscribers and the new subscribers that I've been getting. I truly appreciate all the support, guys, and I truly love you guys. And there will be more content coming, guys. And I feel like my next couple of videos are going to be around, the psychological disillusionment of unambiguous Black women, because it is truly something to talk about. Because when you're going out into the world as an exotical and you are amongst these people, whether that they're trying to come into your communities and your social spaces where they're having these hard wigs on and they're trying to one-up you. And I want to tell you guys, like, these women will also try to befriend us. One thing for sure, I'm not befriending an unambiguous black woman that thinks pasta and lobster are the signs of making it in life and that a hard wig is going to level up her life. Like, this is true signs of mental illness, and this is a mental illness game that I am not willing to play, because it's truly sickening that these women truly thought that a wig was going to save their lives or just level themselves up financially. That is so fucking dumb. Like, you have to have a true personality. Like, that is just one thing that can help you. I feel like black women rely on beauty enhancements to level them up in society. And when those beauty enhancements don't level them up in society, i.e. like the BBL or the skin bleaching or the wigs and things of that nature, I just feel like they become very bitter and very angry, and the disillusionment just becomes greater because they're like not wondering why that they have the same things that exoticals have externally and they're not getting the same privileges, because guess what? You don't have a true passionate bone in your body. You don't have any real life goals. Like, you're not getting anywhere in life. And when people see that and they are not inspired by you as they are inspired by an exotical, then you're having a fissy hit. You're throwing a fit. You get what I'm saying? Like, it's just so, it's so dumb to me, because it's like, this woman is wasting her time. She could have been going to school, getting a degree. She could be making her own business. She could be traveling the world. You get what I'm saying? Like, but she's over here worried about a fucking funky ass, worn out, sweated ass goddamn wig on her head that's not even properly installed, because this white man hasn't given her the privilege that she's wanted. And guess what? We should not be relying on men to give us what we want. We should be at least somewhat secured by ourselves before we're even diving into these relationships and things. Because guess what? Me having 2 fucking businesses, yeah, I've already got myself together. I've already got myself set up for life the way that I want to be. And that's just how it is for me. But for the next person who might be an unambiguous black woman, she just might feel like popping her coochie back is the best thing that she ever has to offer. And that's one thing I refuse to teach my daughters or teach my son about women, is that we're only valuable when we are cooking, cleaning, and popping coochie. Like, that is not right. Like, we really need to look at these black women's mothers. Like, these unambiguous black women's mothers need to get their asses fucking whipped like a fucking Hebrew slave. Because, listen, nobody taught them that shit but you bitches, okay? We need to start pointing fingers and naming names correctly, like Exotical United says, because guess what? There's a lot of accountability not being taken. Like, when will these women realize that, hey, I have to take accountability for my life, for my own life? Like, you guys have to understand, like, before I even had a partner, I was on my own doing my own thing, but I was always spoiled. One thing I want to say is that I feel like I was even more spoiled because I knew who I was and I knew where I was going. And I didn't allow other people to intervene into my own processes. And that's one thing that we have to do as exoticals. We cannot allow these unambiguous black women to intervene into our own processes of life. We cannot allow their rhetorics. We cannot allow their doctrines. We cannot allow their opinions to get to us, because guess what? It is nothing of true value. These women cannot tell me anything to be able to sustain myself. And this is the thing. Unambiguous black women are the worst role models for their unambiguous black daughters. Because guess what? They're not teaching them any type of sense of self-love, self-control, or self-accountability. Like, this woman literally needs to understand, you literally allowed this white man, bottom Brad, bottom shelf Brad, white man, into your life, and he is not contributing anything to you, not paying no fucking bills, not spoiling you, nothing, and you sitting up here telling us across the fucking globe on TikTok, like, you get what I'm saying? Across the globe. And what is that? And what does that make other younger white boys see? What does that make other non-black men see? Oh, we can be in a relationship with you. You're going to go 50-50 with me. You're going to be Bobbiana the Builder. You're going to be Barbara the Builder. And you're going to fix me up and fix my life up like Alana fixed my life or some shit. And no disrespect to that lady, because she is fire, okay? She's a fire lady. And she be really getting down to the point. Oh, I already know my next videos. I'm going to be going over some of her therapy sessions that she has up on her up on her YouTube. If you guys know the show Alana Fix My Life, I'll be going over, some of the rhetoric that unambiguous black women are spewing to each other. And when they finally get to therapy, how does the therapy unfold? But anyway, I just want to say that, unambiguous black women allow themselves to be dogged out, allow themselves to be, made as mortars. Like, they love the mortar look. Like, the mortar look on them, oh my God, they love it. They love showing that they have been wronged or disadvantaged in some way, shape, or form. In order to get any pity, in order to get some type of emotional, like, I just feel like they're trying to conjure up emotional hype men and people who are going to pity them so they can get these charity privileges. And that's one thing I want to say. People looking at you as a charity case, it's not good. It does not work out in your life, and that victim privilege stacking method and tactic, it doesn't work. And this is what is resulting in a lot of bitterness and disillusionment, because they did not allow themselves to become self-sufficient. And when you're not self-sufficient emotionally and validation-wise, everybody can run a game on you. Anybody can run a game on you any time of the day, any time of the year, and you're going to fall for it just like the last time. And that's one thing I want my fellow exoticals to know, is that discernment is key. When you're in these unambiguous black communities, or you're in the spaces where you're sharing space with these women, it is time to know that you must have your filter up, and you must have your impenetrable self-concept on, because guess what? You're not going to allow these women to project onto you. You're not going to allow these women to mule you out in order to, privilege stack or level themselves up. Like, no. It's genuinely time for everyone to take self-accountability, even exoticals. Like, it's time for us to stop associating with these people altogether, because I don't think it's healthy for us or our mindsets. I just think that they engage in unhealthy behavior as a whole. Like, yes, I genuinely do think unambiguous black women do. They don't have a healthy internal locus of control, and I don't think that they will ever be able to gain that type of mental stability. I feel like there's a lot of mental illness that's gone unchecked, and us as a society at large, we don't have to deal with this shit, because it's unfair to us to have to deal with other people's mental illnesses brought upon their bad childhoods or their bad parenting. And I just refuse to be a part of that. Moral of the story: a hard wig will not give you a soft life. I love you, my fellow diabolical exoticals, and that is the video for today. Love you guys, and thank you for subscribing, liking, and sharing my video, and also binging my content. And I appreciate all of you guys, and I hope you guys have a very beautiful day.